1. Good morning, Connecticut. I've got Lou Roman on the phone, a scholar, to tell us. I have a document from him which is critical to the understanding of how we can stop Judah Epstein in his tracks. Okay? You must listen clearly to Lou, and I will demonstrate it through my web browser, through the documentation that I currently have on the screen. Okay, I'm on the screen, Lou's on the phone, and the document's in the screen. Go, Lou.
Okay, yes.
Want me to read the conclusion?
I'm sorry?
You want me to read the conclusion?
Yes, please do.
Now, it's a federal case by Janet C. Hall. For the reasons...
Civil judge,
right.
By the way, in the district court in Connecticut.
Great. Let me read what it says. For the reasons set forth above, the two pending motions to dismiss are granted in part and denied in part. Counts 1 and 2A through D are dismissed on both litigation privilege and nor Pennington grounds. Now, I don't know what that is. You want to explain that?
No, I'm not familiar with that.
Okay. While count 2, E through F are dismissed on nor Pennington grounds, count 2F insofar as it brings claims against Cazenovia Creek, is dismissed for lack of standing. Now, the implication of that is huge. Count 2G is dismissed because the defendants are not consumer collection agencies. In other words, Cazenovia Creek is not registered with the state as a collection agency and therefore is not policed by the Consumer Protection Agency, correct?
That would be the Department of Banking Consumer Protection
Right,
Agency. Yes.
That's George Perez, correct. That's who I think that guy should be in jail.
No, it's not. Let me explain what's happened.
Well, I can't see how you get around it, but go ahead.
No. Perez is very frustrated by his limitations, okay?
Okay.
He's aware of what these people are doing. First and foremost, since that ruling was, I think it was 2020,
yes,
when Judge Hall ruled.
Yes.
They have forced Cazenova Creek to take out a license.
Okay.
They have a debt collector's license.
Okay, it's dated February 28th, 2017 was the original case, and the date of the action, which is a federal case 316 CV 783 JCH, that issue, that ruling came so ordered on, let me tell you the date. Hold on. Should be at the end, right?
It should be 2018 somewhere.
Yeah, I think it is 2018.
Okay.
So it took 2 years to go to court, but it's fine. It's been finalized.
Yeah.
Right. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Hall did an incredible job on that, okay? She has her limitations. Her limitations are that this was not they didn't have a license, so there was no jurisdiction established for them to be regulated. That was corrected as by Deborah Buckley, who was the consumer protection representative for the banking department, working for Judge.
Okay. Let me read the next sentence because it's critical. Ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Count 4, A through C, are dismissed because the municipal tax lien at issue in this case do not qualify as debts within the meaning of CCPA. Count 5. Similarly, it's dismissed because Section 12-195 of the Connecticut General Statute does not apply to municipal tax liens on real property. Correct?
Correct.
Now, this is gigantic.
That is gigantic.
That is gigantic. Want me to repeat it?
I'm sorry?
Well, let me repeat it in case they didn't catch it. Okay. Count 4 is dismissed because the municipal tax lien at issue in this case does not qualify as debts within the meaning of Connecticut General Statute, and it has the number. In other words.
And the jurisdiction of the Connecticut Consumer Protection Act, okay?
Right.
So what happens is Judge Hall said that the assignment number one, that'll be 12-195F, okay?
Yeah, G. It says here, G.
It's not applicable to property taxes.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So the assignment that Judah Epstein gets for property taxes or other tax liens, that would be WPCA tax liens, are invalid. Those assignments can only be transferred.
Right. So when the judge grants him awards and actions, orders, there's no jurisdiction.
There is no jurisdiction, and the judges cannot adjudicate on if she has no jurisdiction. So
how did they get away with 7,000 of these things?
Excuse me?
How'd they get away with 7,000 actions?
That's the tip of the iceberg. Those are the ones that they took the property.
Right.
They won that. And okay, let me give you a history so that you know. Judah Epstein, upon graduating from law school, established a relationship with a company and a group of individuals in New York. They gave him the mandate and supported him as clients to go forward and acquire properties. The reason was that Judah was the attorney for several condo associations, co-op associations. He was their in-house attorney for these people. Someone would fall delinquent on their common charges, Judah would foreclose. The organization itself could not keep the property. So Judah would buy these condos for $2,000, $5,000. Okay?
Unbelievable.
Worth $100,000, but he got
okay. Let me ask you a question. Ready?
Yes.
We briefly spoke about the 6 people who were indicted, right?
Yes.
For collecting the payments, getting bribed, and taking the tax lien and make it disappear. Correct?
No. Let me qualify that.
Go ahead.
The tax lien market is extremely lucrative and it's very competitive. So what happens is when you buy a municipal tax lien in the state of Connecticut, you're entitled to 18% return on your compounded, by the way, compounded, meaning the interest becomes part of the principal every month. And they're so lucrative that a lot of people compete for it. There's where the bribery kicks in. The municipal officers who are in charge of these liens, once the city attorney's office imposes a lien on the property, it becomes a negotiable instrument. They, in turn, auction them off, supposedly. Okay? But in fact, they don't. If you're connected and if you're willing to pay the price, you are able to obtain these tax liens. Then you can proceed with a foreclosure action. That's what Judah Epstein kicks in.
Right.
And Judah Epstein comes in under the assignment clause. He's a third-party collector. He has a company called Benchmark. Benchmark, Trademark is another one that he has. He has several companies.
So right now, the state just began getting jurisdiction.
No, the jurisdiction comes because they forced Judah to become a debt collector legally. And there was another ruling. You don't have that yet. I'll send it to you. The banking department forced Judah to get a debt collector's license.
Okay.
That means he is now under the rules of the Consumer Protection Act, and he has to be accountable. The only problem is the Consumer Protection Act doesn't have any penalties. Okay, it has no teeth. And,
wonderful.
And that's the weird part. Now,
so there is no remedy.
There is a remedy. Yes, there is. There is a state representative who is also deputy speaker of the House by the name of Edwin Vargas.
Right.
Edwin he wrote a law that reduced the interest rate from for any tax liens from 18%
to 6
interest to 12%.
Oh, I thought it was 6.
No, he wanted to do it at 6, but the 17 tax collectors were on a hearing. Were in a hearing last year, and I was in here and I testified, they agreed to accept 12%, and that 12% alone impacts on Judas Epstein and other people, Casanova Creek's ability to obtain these tax liens, because the spread is simple. Now, Casanova Creek being as big as they are, okay, and they got big because their founders were originally vice presidents for Wachovia Bank.
Well, by the way, if you put in Casanova Creek in the internet, a whole bunch of lenders pop up.
Because they're all shell corporations. Casanova Creek was 2 people. Okay?
Right. I saw six or eight mortgage companies popped up.
Yeah. Those are all the holding companies that own the real estate. And Judah's doing the same thing. They didn't reinvent the wheel. All they did was copy each other.
Okay.
Now, Judah has...
So it's predatory lending.
Well, it's not predatory lending.
Yeah, it has to be.
It's the acquisition. No, it's the abuse of the taxation system. Okay, taxes are being used to take over mostly senior citizens who are on a fixed income and don't have the ability to, if the taxes are increased on their homes that they have no mortgage on and have a lot of equity, they foreclose on the taxes. So you could wind up owning a house that's worth $200,000 for $5,000, and the homeowner loses all their equity. Judah Epstein will refuse to take payments from anybody, and he's done it. There's several cases I can refer to you, okay, where he literally cut him.
So he doesn't want the money; he wants the property.
Absolutely. The whole thing's in the property, and then on top of that, he charges exorbitant fees. Brian Luckhart, a reporter for the Connecticut, I guess the Herald, Connecticut Post, did a story on the amount of money Judah charges for a foreclosure action on a tax lien. It's about $7,000 to $8,000, maybe sometimes $10,000, when it should be like $1,500. So, and the judges approve it. Okay, which makes the judges complicit. Okay, that's the whole problem. The judges rubber stamp anything Judah
Here we go.
wants.
City warned years ago about alleged high sewer fees, costly to foreclose on Epstein. That one?
Yes.
Should I show them the article?
Yes.
Okay, Bridgeport. If a city official want controversial collections attorney Judah Epstein to walk away from his late sewer fee cases, they will have to pay him. So that's extortion.
Well, he doesn't even at the time that was written, he didn't have a contract with the city. It was a verbal contract, so nobody could enforce anything. Judah is very bright, okay? And what he did was he was working quietly. Now, the problem is he works exclusively with an attorney known as...
Oh, here we go. Epstein for years has been very successful in getting Bridgeport and its Water Pollution Control Authority, WPCA, that owed money and earned his salary by passing his legal fees on to targets of his collection efforts.
Well, that's superficial, but because the real objective is the property. And
well,
he makes the fees so overburdening that no one can afford to pay him. It's like having a loan shark do this.
Right.
The exact same thing.
How is it that Judah Epstein is still allowed on representing the city on foreclosures? Councilman Ernie Newton said Wednesday night after a joint meeting. I know Ernie Newton.
Yeah.
Meeting of the Ordinance Committee, the WPCA board, and the mayor's staff. Clem Young, chairman of the WPCA board, which has begun collaborating with the council on possible collection reforms, agreed. If I'm under contract and the rules change, I either abide by the contract or I'm out.
But there was no contract at the time. We managed to get the Common Council in Bridgeport to impose a 6-month moratorium on the collection or the foreclosure of properties in Bridgeport for municipal tax liens and WPCA tax liens. There's another law firm in New Haven run by Ed Marcus. It's called the Marcus Law Firm. okay, for which Walter Spader was a partner.
Wonderful.
Okay?
Yeah, so they all have their hands in it, partners in different law firms, knowing each other, carrying the ball, huh?
Well, I'll make it even easier for you, and this is something that the Public Corruption Task Force for the federal government, the Department of Justice, should look into, and that is Russell Liskoff.
And that's the key. You need all these people to go to the FBI website and file the form.
Well, they need to go to the Department of Justice, the DOJ, ctdoj.com.
Hold on.
Department of
Hold on.
Justice website.
CT.
Go under Contact Us, click on Complaints, and then you can download your complaint and exhibits, any evidence you may have. You can do it electronically. You don't have to go to the FBI. The task force will pick it up from there.
Yeah, well, right now it's...
There's an active investigation going on all these people, but they need the support of the public, and they need this information. This task force was established by a woman by the name of Ann Nevins, who was an assistant U.S. attorney, and then became acting U.S. attorney when Durham went to work for Trump. And so therefore, she established it. Now she is the chief, she's a chief judge in the bankruptcy court. She became a judge, and she established this whole thing. But the problem is, there's limitations. There's usually no enforcement. I had a long conversation with the Commissioner of Banking regarding the enforcement of these laws, and they'll always tell you, if you call his consumer protection representative, who's a guy named Matthew Smith, and he'll say it's not within our jurisdiction. We don't have enforcement. It has to be done by the Attorney General's office. Okay? That would be William Tong. And William Tong doesn't bother with any of this. Okay? William Tong ignores this.
So let me ask you, did he violate his oath of office?
I believe he did, yes.
I believe?
Yes.
In 10 seconds, I can tell you that he did.
Well, William, if you were to call William with a complaint, they will never even answer you, okay? If you call, there's a guy named Joseph Chambers who is responsible for the consumer protection enforcement in the state of Connecticut. He's asleep at the wheel somewhere because he never answers any.
Well, you want to hear something real funny? If you put in the word Tong in the dictionary,
yeah.
Do you know what the definition of Tong is? You ready? Here it goes. A Chinese association or secret society in the U.S. frequently associated with the underworld and criminal activity.
Yeah, it is indeed. That is the Chinese mafia. That's really what it is.
Right.
Okay.
And that's his name. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, but William, I don't understand why he's doing all this or hasn't done anything about it. Because, I know him personally. Right.
Why is he suing Trump over the border, honestly?
The border, that's a whole different thing. Trump is a whole different world.
Yeah. All right.
Let's focus on Connecticut and what Tong isn't doing. Okay?
Yeah, I hear you.
The laws, he's not living up to his oath of office. That applies to George Perez as well. Okay?
Right.
So you have the Commissioner of Banking.
Well, I was surprised to see this ruling because it really is a stretch for them to allow what they're doing.
Well, they're allowing it because they will punt. They will not take responsibility. Remember this, Ed Marcus was the chairman of the Connecticut the Democratic Party. Okay? So he has an immense amount of influence with people like Patrick Carroll, the chief court administrator. Patrick Carroll was the chairman. He was a senator from Fairfield, and he was the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, and later he became a judge, and eventually he worked his way up to chief court administrator, which is the second most powerful.
Okay, so the chairman, Ed Marcus, is running this. The chairman of the DNC is running a gigantic law firm, and if you looked at one of the, I guess 2 or 3 cases ago that we were looking at the Marcus Law Group that took over that bike shop in Bridgeport.
That doesn't surprise me. They had Maria Soldado, is the young lady who is the attorney representing the Marcus law firm in these foreclosures. Maria Soldado was Walter Spader's protege in the law firm, and he put her through law school. He was influential in getting her through law school and hired her after she graduated. And now she has replaced him in the Marcus law firm, handling this tax lien foreclosures.
So they have a definitive. He paid for her law school, correct?
No, I don't know if he paid for it.
Oh.
I don't know that for a fact. I do know that he helped her, get through law school.
Right. So the DNC chair has connections to these homes.
Are you kidding me? Listen, George Perez was an assembly member and a member of the Democratic committee in New Haven, and Ed Marcus was the boss, in New Haven. So there's a connection between those guys.
That's why he won't go after him.
Well, no, on the contrary. I had conversations with him, and he basically, was very upfront and frustrated because he feels that he's hamstrung and he's not able to accomplish anything with
hamstrung?
With
he is a duty. Hamstrung.
Yeah, well, he'll claim that it's not within his jurisdiction. That's what he'll say. And the same thing for Matthew Smith. Remember that woman, Carol?
Yeah.
She called the
one with the deep voice? Yeah.
Right. She called. No. That's Linda. That's Linda Pilecki.
Oh, okay.
No, Carol is the lady that you talked to out of New Canaan yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. She contacted the banking department, and the banking department told her that they couldn't do anything, that it was not within their jurisdiction. That's a lie, because they have a consumer protection responsibility, and they don't enforce it. Matthew Smith is complicit because it's his job as deputy commissioner to do legislative. He does lobbying for the banking department, and he also is responsible for the consumer protection department. They had a woman who was very committed. She was a 30-year employee.
He's a lobbyist?
Wait a minute, banking department, and she was forced to retire when she took a position.
Is that Atlas Advocacy?
I'm sorry?
Is that Atlas Advocacy?
No.
Matthew Smith? No. Lobbying profile, open secrets, lobbyist?
No, I'm not at all familiar with that. I do know that I know that Deborah Buckley was definitely a good human being.
Okay, so how do I find Matthew Smith? Deputy what?
He's the deputy of the banking commissioner. He's a deputy banking commissioner. He's number 2 guy in the banking department.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's his job, and he's not doing it. And they keep punting. You call him up and you ask him. You file complaints and they ignore it. I had a conference. I had a meeting with.
Oh, I'm looking at his face. He's New Haven, Connecticut. 3 mutual connections. Melissa Biggs.
I don't know those people at all, so I don't want you to miss.
No. I'm just saying. Matthew Smith, Government Affairs and Communications Specialist?
He's also the consumer department's boss. He's the head of it.
Department of Banking. This is the guy.
Yeah.
Okay, Director of Government Relations, Consumer Affairs.
That's one of his jobs. Second part of the job is consumer affairs.
Right. Government Relations, direct agency, legislative agenda requiring a bipartisan approach that engages legislators and shareholders in requiring, synthesizing, and delivering complex information to a diverse audience. What the hell does that mean? Commissioner to the members of Congress, Connecticut General Assembly, various lobbying and trade associations like Connecticut Bankers Association and Credit Union League of Connecticut. Monitors all related state and federal legislation recommended policy options.
Sounds like a lot, isn't it? But he doesn't do any of it. Okay?
Unbelievable.
He may lobby and he may do the legislative part, but he doesn't do the consumer protection part.
Okay. Government specialist.
They have an oath of office. That oath of office has been breached. Okay?
Yeah.
They're not working for the people anymore. Okay? They're working for the power brokers.
They're working for the power brokers. I got his picture. Let's use it. Have a great day, my friend. Let's keep it short. We're at 25 minutes. Huh.
Okay, no, bye.
You're the best. Loving you. Bye.
Right.
Well. Wow. He kind of looks like my bulldog, Jake, who passed away. He was a great dog. There's nothing that Connecticut can do with people like this doing what they're doing. Robbing people. Have a great day. Flynn 2022. This is an important post, folks. If you had the language and knowledge walking into court that these guys were not, for years and years, they were not licensed to collect as a collection agency, that they had no one supervising them as they were robbing people under the protection of Judge Carroll, how many thousands of people have had their life savings stolen and given to the Marcus law firm? DNC chair. Ed Marcus, DNC chair. Oh, this is a beautiful thing. Bye, have a great day. DNC chair, Ed Marcus, robbing Connecticut. Unbelievable.